Now at the end we have Lars Norway, which is the CEO of our Norwegian organization named NOSIS, and they do a lot of security awareness work, and I've been working with them for a long time in different areas, and we have been discussing for quite a long time actually. We have been just discussing on a way that we could do a password survey of some sort in Norway. And finally, for this conference, we found the time and ability to do that. And I'm really curious about this one because I haven't actually been able to see the questions or the answers yet. So I'm really looking forward to this one. So, Tore, you may introduce yourself.
Thank you. Last speaker, third day. Of course, it has to be a non-technical speech then. I've been here the whole day and it has been some very interesting speeches. So, a little bit about myself. I've been the CEO of Norwegian Center for Information Security for a little bit over 6 years. Before that, I have had 15 years in the Norwegian military, communications, crypto, and also 8 years in the leading Norwegian telecom company called Telenor. So information security has been my trade for a lot of years. I thought that I should start a little bit to talk about NOSIS and what we are doing. Just a few short comments on that. We are a partly private and public organization, and we are responsible to actually talk about, teach, educate the Norwegian inhabitants about information security and why it's important to take care of their information. And also Norwegian companies. We have guidance, we have a lot of things on our website to help Norwegian companies. A large amount of users out there. Norway, 5 million inhabitants. So you thought then we are a big organization, but no, we are 7 people and trying to reach out to all of the people in Norway about the big topic, information security. How we do that? We of course try to get into the newspapers, television channels, radio channels, talk about the threat picture, but always also give advice how to. And after listening to the speeches here today, how shall we communicate passwords to the end users? That's a big question. And that is also one of the reasons that we wanted to ask the people of Norway about passwords and how they use their passwords. Of course, I have our email lists with non-technical information to users. We are often at conferences, seminars, presenting good advices and giving speeches about the threat picture and what to do about it. We do a lot of projects, both nationally and internationally. And this October, we also took part and was a pilot in EU on October as a National Security Month. I think it was 7 EU members that had a pilot in National Security Month. So in October, we had a lot of focus on the information security and how to educate users around Norway. We also run a service called slettmeg.no, deleteme.no. This service also gives us a lot of statistics about behavior, IT competence among Norwegian users, because this is a service that people can call into, send emails, and find out things they have, for example, pictures, videos on the internet that they want to delete. They have been bullied. We have 600 to 800 calls every month that we are answering on this service, and this gives us a lot of good statistics. For example, we get mostly people calling about pictures, videos on the internet. We see a lot of broken up relationships. They have been taking nude pictures, videos, and when the relationship is over, of course, one of the parts they put this on the internet. And the other part they call us to get help about this. But we also see a lot of calls about hacked accounts, fake accounts. And often this is related to passwords. Lost, stolen, told to others. So this is a good way for us to have statistics on IT competence, passwords, a lot of other things. That was a little bit about our organization. 7 people located at Gjøvik, 120 kilometers from Oslo. We have had an operation now for 10 years, and that is quite unique, having an awareness organization, getting money from the government and also from the public. I don't think very many countries have this kind of organization. Okay, so to Per's interest, I'm going into the speech and into the details about the password survey. The survey we conducted now for a couple of months ago. We started this survey, and a company called Hugo has been helping us with collecting data, and we have answers from 1,003 persons. So it's quite a large survey. And we also want to thank Kirsi Helkala from Gjøvik University College, who has helped us to get these numbers up. We have a lot of questions in the survey. Per, we will get the questions afterwards. 18 questions we have been asking these people. And a little bit about the people has been participating. Their occupations. We have also some about the companies that we have sent this survey to, what kind of companies, and we see that a little bit over 35% have 250 or more employees. But a lot of small companies also have answered this survey. And Norway is maybe not very special, but it's very few large companies. And I think around 98% of the companies are at this small corner of this table. So it's a lot of small companies in Norway. People who have been answering, of course, most regular employees, some head of departments, project managers, but also almost 10% executives have been answering this survey. Their education, it's divided into a lot of people going high school as the highest education, but also 30% has university with 4 years or more as their education. And we can, of course, when we go deeper into the survey, find out a little bit about what kind of job title they have, age, education, and find if it's any differences. I will not go into that now. 57% male, 43% female, and also the age groups are both from 18, 34 up to 64 years of age. One of the questions that we wanted to ask was, of course, how many passwords do a regular user in Norway have? And if you start thinking about that yourself, any suggestions? How many passwords do you have? Per?
200 plus.
200 plus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you then think, when we ask a normal user, what would be his answer?
One.
Yeah.
Wrong audience to ask, actually.
No, but simple research is a thing on the Norwegian television ads nowadays, so maybe I should do some simple research here. Have any of you logged into the network here, the Wi-Fi network?
Yes.
Yes. Then you was also you needed to change your password. Did you do that?
It was suggested we change our password.
Yeah. So not everyone did that, but if you did that, it was a lot of rules that you had to follow. Did anyone change their password? Yeah. Yeah. Anyone of you forgot that password the next time you go to log on?
Nope.
No?
Wrote it down.
I'm in the wrong group asking these questions. Because when meeting those kinds of password rules, I think a lot of users, they don't change their password. I will come back to that later on. But in Norway, we also divided this number of passwords, both the private life and at work. And at the private life, they said that they had almost 18 passwords to take care of. A low number, according to the 200, but still 18 passwords they had here. And that's the minimum. So at work, they had 8.5 password to take care of. And if you see in different platforms where they have their passwords, so web shops, emails, devices are the highest numbers. They say that they have different passwords to take care of. If you do a survey like this and stop a guy at the street in Oslo and ask him how many usernames, passwords do you have, I don't think it's very easy for them to answer the question. You actually have to start thinking about all the services that you actually have the username and the password to get answers here. But in this survey, we have also used some times when they have been answering these questions. So, but this is the numbers, 25 passwords as the minimum number they have. We also have some questions about password security. You guys are the experts on password security. We also asked first, how did you get education to build these good passwords? And a lot of people find information on websites, papers, things like that. We have also asked them which websites, papers, that I haven't taken that with me here. At work also some education, but not very much. Some get advice from colleagues, friends. A lot of people didn't answer this question, so almost 35% did not answer.
Were they allowed to pick more than one answer or just one? Were they allowed to pick more than one answer or just one?
On this one, I think they had the possibility to pick more than one answer. Yes. When we see this survey, we see that the majority of the participants, they thought a good password was a mix of letters and numbers. That was their opinion on good passwords. And we had a lot of descriptions from those who answered this one. 10% wouldn't tell anything about what was the good password. A few didn't know what a good password were. But 86% they had an opinion on how a good password were. And almost half of those who was asked here, they said that they thought 3 character sets are enough. Capitals, small letters and numbers. That was the majority of those who answered this question. 13.7% had no opinion about character sets at all. Only 9% said that the password needs to be long. And what's your answer? Short or long?
Depends.
Still do not agree.
Don't know.
Depends on the hashing.
Good. But the average length of these 1,003 people's password were 8 characters. The minimum length was 4, and the maximum length was 22 characters. Anyone beating 22 here?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
About personal info into the password. 17.9 said that personal info should not be used in a password, and only 1.7 said that personal info should be used in a password. And a lot of people didn't say anything about using personal info in the password. Words, 12.1% said that words not should be used. 8% that words should be used. And a lot of people then again didn't say anything about words. I haven't heard your recommendations about building a password. On our website we have some recommendations about how to try to remember all these passwords and how to build them up. Any suggestions for me to go back to the Norway's website and write something about how to build a password?
There was a lightning talk by Connects on one way of using words randomly that might be easy to remember that I think would be interesting to consider all the courses.
Because sentences, lyrics, phrases, that are things now people talk about when they try to tell the users how to build up their passwords. About remembering passwords, only 10% said that a good password should be easy to remember. So it's a lot of confusions about passwords also. 5% said also that they used some techniques to improve the password. They changed letters E to 3, for example. So they also thought a little bit about that. We asked also about if their own password fulfill their own requirements of a good password. When we do this, their own requirements of a good password. And when we saw these first slides here, so we are a little bit confused about what they think is a good password. But even there, only 35% said that yes, all passwords fulfill the criteria. And most of the passwords, 38%, some of the passwords, 24%. So the password use, according to this, we'll see a little bit later also, the users that are making their passwords, they have a lot to learn. And that is also, I think, the things that you have been discussing. And of course, you have all these databases with passwords, the top 10 worst passwords, for example. You see the users, they are doing this. And this survey also concludes that way. We also asked if they thought that some services needed extra strong passwords. And then we saw that banking, for example, emails, and devices, they thought actually needed extra strong passwords. And then we asked, do you use extra strong passwords for services that you think need extra protection? 19% no. So actually they don't differentiate that much on this topic. They think about that some services needed extra strong passwords, but as you can see. We also had some questions around use of the same passwords. So, what is your opinion? How many said that they used the same password? How many percent?
99.
67% is I think, the number from Troy Hunt, and he compared Sony and Gawker leaks, and he found 67%. And I can't remember seeing anybody else coming up with, a better or worse comparison. And he found 67% reuse between Sony and Gawker.
Just between the two sites, yeah.
Yeah, between those two, yeah. 67%
Wait, is
reuse.
this between two particular sites, or that somebody reuses a password?
Always.
Well, oh, they use one password all the time?
Okay, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
30. 50?
12%. But 62%, yes, sometimes. So 62 plus 12, almost the same password all the time.
Don't know.
9% of these people never use the same password. So
If they don't know, that must mean they registered for something and they can't remember what it was, so they probably reused it.
yeah, we have also asked a little bit about reuse and how they remember their password, so I will come back to that later. But how many Norwegians here? So that you have been answering this 9% here. That's good. To remember the passwords, I always remember my password. 3%. I do not always remember all my passwords, and therefore I write them down. 20%. I do not always remember all my passwords, but if so, I ask to get them resent via email, SMS, etc. So, 33% don't care about remembering their passwords because they use this forgotten password button on the websites. They use their email and they don't care about the password because they can get it resent every time. 33% uses that option.
That's an idea.
Some use the password PC phone one time and the rest comes automatically because I have checked the Remember Me box. But that's very few actually. How do we store our passwords? We also asked. And as you can see, over 50% have written down the passwords and stored them at home or at work. Some, of course,
That's one on PC phone, 20%. Perfect.
Computer programs, a little bit over 10% using computer programs, storing passwords. What do you say about computer programs, storing passwords?
Most of them are very poor at doing it, even if they were designed to do it.
Is it the difference between those who are storing it in the cloud, those who are storing it in the computer?
Well, yeah, no cloud.
Yeah.
There are some programs that are good, I suppose.
Alcomsoft, Russian company Alcomsoft did a survey of, or they actually had a look at 17 different password managers that they presented at Black Hat Amsterdam this spring. And out of those 17, several password managers, and this was for iOS devices, several of them actually said that we will store your passwords using really good encryption, but they stored it in plain text on your phone.
Yeah.
And some of those were actually also paid applications. So
Hey, that was 16 rounds of Rock 13.
Because we get a lot of questions from users in Norway. How shall we store our passwords? And maybe the 50% do it correctly, Per. Store them at work or at home. We also asked, I should maybe take that back again, because who do we share our passwords with? You had a little glance on that here. You also asked about sharing of passwords, and who do we share passwords with? How many shares with their wife, their partner?
Depends, of course, on which password it is.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're just, well,
Do you include PIN codes?
What?
Do you include PIN codes in that?
Yeah, PIN codes and passwords is included here. Actually, 31% said that they share password with their wife. And 7% share their password with their children.
Nobody shares your rules.
Anyone here sharing passwords with their children?
Well, so, I mean, that depends what is the password for? Because if it's something like your Wi-Fi password, then I would certainly expect my children, you know, if they've got devices that they need to join, then that's certainly reasonable.
Yeah, but then again, it depends. Do you give them the password, or will you just configure their device with the password to get online to on the Wi-Fi network? So that you don't actually tell them the password, but they get access to it through their device that they're using. I mean, I'm sharing my Wi-Fi password with my 6-year-old daughter. But that's essentially for an iPad she's using for the most of the time, and she doesn't know the password. But I'm still, in a way, sharing it with her because, you know, it's her iPad.
In 2 years, she'll be able to recover it.
But the questions are, the comments are good because you also have to have this risk analysis things in your head to find out what to share and not to share. But another problem is that the users, they are not very competent. They don't have the IT competence. They have their own password and that's the one they have. And sharing is easy or difficult. But this one shows that actually some people share their passwords. That 63% says that they don't share their passwords. Yes. 18 questions, a lot of statistics. We will now use the statistics to cross-reference, find a little bit more details that we can use to both go out in the public and talk about passwords. And of course we use Per as a reference on how to build good passwords. But it's very important in the threat picture that we're in now, that we are doing this, because too many use the same password on different services. And that's a big problem. If we see that one database is taken down, usernames and password are stolen, it's not the value of that site maybe, it's the value of every other site that this username and password can be reused. That's the value for the attacker. So that's why it's very important for us to educate users, to go out in the media to talk about passwords, not the technical way that you are doing here at this conference, but in a more common language. Is this correct?
Again, it depends.
It depends. Because we see a lot of social engineering. We see a lot of attempts to lure the passwords from users. And then, if you have a strong password, that will not save you. Because a lot of methods now go directly to the users to get hold of the passwords. And that's why we also talk to the government, we talk to the industry about to spend money in research and try to get the gap between the user and the technology smaller, so that the fact now is that we have actually said to the user that you are the last defense mechanism. You shall not click, you shall not open, you shall not surf. You have to, you have to. And this is very difficult because the competence of the user isn't good enough to take care of this. So we also need to say to the government, say to the universities that they need to invest money to start a new era around password or authentication. And what we are trying to do now is, of course, going out in the media, talking about all these scams, phishings, how criminals are collecting their usernames and passwords, and these are on the market for sale. And then we, of course, need help from you, getting statistics, getting methods, things that we can use as a way to get the newspapers, radio, television interested in the topic so that we can get the message out. So if you have any good comments, good articles, good solutions, you find my contact information at norsis.no. So just drop me an email, send me some literature or whatever things that you actually could see getting the headlines in the news. And of course, the important for us, that we can talk about how to educate the user, tell the user how to do it. That is very important for us. That is our mission, actually, to educate the users in Norway. So this is some snapshots from the survey. And of course, we have a lot of more material in the statistics here. Thank you.